Designer Ra Vincent is nominated this year for his work on Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit. I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor here at Gold Derby. Ra, first of all, congratulations on, I think, your second Oscar nomination this year for Jojo Rabbit.
Thank you, Rob. It's pretty amazing, actually. It's number 2.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah, it's a strong group of films that were vying for the 5 slots this year. It's a really strong year in film, actually, and it would have been extra exciting to hear that you made the cut. Talk us through the morning of the Oscar nominations announcement.
Oh, buddy, we're in such great, wonderful company this year. I was absolutely flabbergasted to see my name pop up at 2 a.m. I must admit, I was awake. My wife was checking the results on as they were coming in live, and that was actually a spectacular kind of surprise because I didn't think in such illustrious company that we would be making it in for production design. So exciting.
Yeah, it totally is. You were first nominated for, I think, the first Hobbit film. This is a really different film that you've been nominated for, so it shows that you've got, some versatility in your work. Talk us through, I guess, how difficult is it to do a period film like this, where we know what World War II looks like, we know what Nazi Germany looks like. This one, what you've done is made it look so much different. I'd rather you speak to it than me, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. It's more colourful. It's it kind of more fitting for what this is, which is a satire. Talk us through how you went about designing something like this.
Well, Rob, I've always been one to kind of try and stretch my my experiences and try new things. And the idea of doing a period film, rather than sitting in fantasy or science fiction, was a pretty attractive idea. And Jojo Rabbit was a beautiful script, and I think I connected with it not only because my friend had written the screenplay and had the most evocative kind of writing, but also because it was an opportunity to try something different. And really, I felt very comfortable in Taika's hands because I knew that he wouldn't just do your average run-of-the-mill Second World War period piece. We needed to come up with something that would inspire a little bit of imagination in people, and kind of get people to dig a little bit deeper into what the underlying kind of narrative is, rather than just going to go and see a war film. And having our time in Czech Republic, exploring amazing locations on the border with Germany, and finding these beautiful villages that are kind of untouched or unsullied by modernization, was a pretty amazing experience, and we got unlimited amounts of inspiration from it. So there were maybe a few moments there where the color scheme of a town kind of evoked a sort of naive joy, and we'd take cues like that and apply them to the aesthetic throughout the film.
I have to admit, when I first heard about the film and before I had seen it, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to really want to see a Nazi film that's supposed to be funny, but obviously it's so much more than that. When I realised it was a Taika Waititi film, and that it's a satire, and it's kind of not necessarily about Nazis, it's more about kind of hate and prejudice, I really kind of fell in love with it. It kind of sneaks up on you because it's really charming and funny and beautifully made. Were they your reactions when you first read the script?
Yeah, because I'd worked with Taika before, I knew that there was a reason behind the comedy, and for Jojo Rabbit to have such a wonderful effect, it was using that as a tool to gain a little bit of trust from an audience and introduce them to a concept that maybe would otherwise be a little bit frictionless in terms of getting people into theatres to sit on the seats. You need to kind of open up the audience's heart and then deliver this really poignant story. And humour is a really nice way to make the introduction.
It definitely does. I mean, it starts off super funny, and then as the film progresses, it gets really quite heartfelt and dramatic. So talk us through working with Tucker and what he brings to a project that is unique and special.
I think, apart from Tucker's amazing creativity and his beautiful writing and his generous directing style, he has this wonderful amount of trust with his technicians and allows people to bring their art to the forefront of the storytelling and contribute. And I think Tyke is quite generous in that he will let you down gently if something's not working with his storytelling style. So, to be open and accept a whole lot of input is a wonderful thing. And I think as a head of department, I allow my team to do the same. So we all, at the end of the day, we rely on the contributions of our technicians and to fill the world with amazing stuff.
Isn't it funny how you can say the same thing for pretty much like any profession? You're working with a leader who is collaborative and who wants to hear your ideas, and then you in turn, the people that report to you, you have the same kind of relationship. And then what happens is the outcome is a film that works so beautifully that people are really responding to. And in terms of the design, really took me by surprise because I, as I said kind of earlier, I kind of know what I'm going to expect when I'm watching a film about World War II. It's going to have a lot of grey. It's going to be very kind of monochromatic in its colour palette. This one completely blew me away because it's so different. And so obviously that was something that you appeared to have really wanted to focus on to bring out kind of a lighter or a new way of looking at this particular period. Was that a fair enough thing to say?
Yeah, apart from Jojo Johannes Betzler having a kind of a 10-year-old version of the world that he's looking at.
Yeah.
He also grew up in a household that was generous with the arts, and his mother Rosie Betzler was a very stylish woman. And Germany in the 1920s and 1930s was like at a climatic artistic period in that country, and it really was a world leader in brand new architecture, the Bauhaus movement, and painting and Art Deco. It permeated all areas of culture, and it's not. I don't think it's correct to assume that everything was dusty and drab at that time. And when you look at antiques, and especially people who were kind of affluent enough to be able to afford the current style, you find that the world was a pretty vibrant, amazing place before it was destroyed by idiots.
Yeah, and what's really interesting as well about your work and your team's work is while you have tried to set this film apart from a lot of the other films in this genre, you still have to very much be true to what that period is, and that's the challenge I expect that you had. So was there a lot of research done prior to shooting and prior to kind of building all of these sets and designing them to try to get that aspect right while also putting your own spin on it?
Yeah, so while we took a few liberties in enhancing maybe some reality for Jojo, we made sure that we were kind of being as accurate as possible with period details. I mean, it was important for us to be correct, but also kind of, bring a little extra life to it so that we could be transported out of the dreary, old-fashioned way of telling a Second World War film into this sort of into a 10-year-old child's world and kind of activate a new sentiment in the viewer to kind of engage with the story. So I think we were fortunate in that our location in Czech Republic has got a lot of those European antiquities, and many of the things that we furnished the film with are beautiful antiques from the period. And even though maybe the amount of different beautiful objects might feel a little bit like we pushed the limits of the aesthetic, it's actually spot on.
And is it true to say that you and your team actually built a lot of, especially the interior sets from scratch, and like literally from the floors to the ceilings and every little detail? It's not like as if you just kind of found a location and thought, yeah, this looks lovely, let's just kind of, zhuzh it up a bit and we're done. There was actually a shitload of work to be done to bring some authenticity to especially those interior shots.
Yeah, absolutely. We built Jojo's house on stage in Barendorf because not only did we need somewhere that was easy to light and easy to move camera around, we also wanted to nail the aesthetic really nicely because we spend almost half of the film inside this environment. And that allowed the art department an opportunity to take all of those beautiful key references that we had been amassing and put them into one stylish house. And so the notion is that Rosie at some point and her husband had renovated their old Baroque cottage, and keep the exterior integrity of the house, but on the inside modernized, and they have all the current 1940s appliances and the linoleum and the soft furnishings are all kind of in the decade, kind of up with the current trends. So I think that building a set piece specific to the story makes it a lot easier to connect all of the other environments to it, because we can take clues from our other locations and just incorporate them into that particular place. So Jojo's interior really was the keystone that held all of the other distant locations together in terms of a colour palette and a period vibe that we were looking for. And
yeah, go ahead.
I guess also, Rob, there's a moment where you have to weigh up sending a crew from one side of the country to the other side of the country to find the perfect kitchen versus the perfect living room, or do you just bite the bullet and build that stuff in one place and use, some of the greatest technicians in the world are in Czech Republic, and we had such a great construction and art department team.
Would you say that was probably your number one challenge on this film, or was there anything else in particular, and maybe even some of the exteriors that you found quite difficult to get right?
We did a wonderful thing. We found a little town called Žatec in Czech Republic, and it had a generous town square that we wanted to stage the Allied takeover of our fictional town, Valkenheim. And it was beautiful. It was just about perfect. There were a few shop fronts and a few buildings that needed the colours to change, and some of the kind of the modern fixtures on the outside of these houses to come down. But the biggest challenge was getting the permission from the local inhabitants of the town, and that was kind of enjoyable in a lot of ways, because we got to hear some of the stories from that town of when the Nazi Party came through and started to spread their propaganda. So the town of Rattets has a history with the Nazis, and most of the people that you talk to have a couple of generational stories that retell the days when the stickers used to be flying on those flagpoles, and now they're back again. That also gave our story more credibility, because we were taking the stories of people, just average people, and that was feeding into our story as well.
I'm so glad you raised that, because I always wonder when I'm watching films like Jojo that are filmed in Europe, when you're putting swastikas up in public, what you might be receiving in terms of feedback from people who live there, who may have some connection with what was happening back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. So yeah, it's really interesting that you did have to come up with that when designing for the film, right?
Yeah, and it's also not as taboo a subject as you might think from Germany or the Czech Republic. It is part of something that people just refuse to forget about. You know, it's not something to be covered up. It's something to be kind of remembered and made sure that the next generation of young people understand the sheer enormity of what went on in the Second World War. So I think the opportunity for dialogue was great for the aesthetics, but it also gave us legitimacy in what we were doing. Yeah.
Well, Ra, you're now a 2-time Oscar nominee. Congratulations on your nomination for Jojo. Good luck at the Oscars. You never know what could happen. It's very competitive, but Jojo's been so well received that you should be going in with high hopes. And good work on Jojo as well. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you.
And everybody, go to goldderby.com right now. Make your predictions for Jojo Rabbit and click subscribe so you can watch all of our other great contender chats just like this one with Ra.